Novak Djokovic announced earlier today, a few hours ago, that he's not going to be coming to play in the U.S. Open because of the policies that are in place still in the United States that don't allow anyone who is foreign to enter the country unless they have gotten the COVID shot. That is, if you're not a citizen. If you leave the country and you are a citizen, you can come back in even without the COVID shot, thankfully. But Novak Djokovic, much like Australia would not allow him to participate in the Australian Open, is not going to be able to play in the U.S. Open. That's even though he played last year in the U.S. Open when COVID was at a much higher rate. And even though Novak Djokovic has been proven 100% true in the reason why he has not gotten the COVID shot, because COVID neither stops the spread nor prevents you from getting the virus and giving it to someone else. And you can just look at Joe Biden and Jill Biden and see that even if you've gotten 4 shots, you can still get COVID. In fact, there is a study out there that suggests if you have gotten 4 COVID shots, you are even more likely to get COVID than people who have gotten nowhere near 4 COVID shots. So, what I want to talk about, though, is not the fact that Novak Djokovic has been proven to be correct, like Kyrie Irving and like Aaron Rodgers and like other people, many of you out there watching and listening right now, who said, I'm young and healthy. I may have already had COVID. There's no point in me getting this COVID shot. They were 100% right. Most people won't even acknowledge it. What I want to talk about is the way that the sports media covers people who have political opinions that are the same as them compared to people that have political opinions that are different. Now, the COVID shot shouldn't be a political question. It's just a health-related issue. I'll talk about that in a moment. But how often do you hear, oh, Megan Rapinoe is so brave because she won't go to the White House when Donald Trump was president? It's so brave of her. How often do you hear, oh, it's so brave of LeBron James to come out with this woke political opinion. Oh, I'm so glad that he's using his platform in such a productive way. Bravo, LeBron James. How often do you hear that? All the time, right? Yet, the people who are making these choices to come out with left-wing political opinions are actually benefiting from those opinions. Okay? It's not brave to say something that ends up making you more money than it would have if you had stayed completely silent. All right? Look at what is happening to Novak Djokovic and what happened to Kyrie Irving. These guys spoke out and cost themselves money. Now, we can still argue about whether it's brave to say something that costs you money, but there is a cost. It's certainly not brave to say something and be rewarded for it. Yet almost no one is going to discuss Novak Djokovic's choice here. He's one all-time tennis major behind right now and has a decent chance to become the greatest tennis player of all time. Rafael Nadal, I believe, has 22 tennis majors, and Novak Djokovic has 21. Djokovic would have been the favorite at Australian Open, and he would have been the favorite at the U.S. Open. At a minimum, he's probably likely to have won at least one of those tournaments, and there would have been a good chance, based on the way he's been playing, that he would win both, which would have made him the greatest tennis player in men's tennis history. And maybe he could end up with more majors than either any man or woman. It's not crazy to think that that would end up being the result. Instead, he has stood on principle over the benefit. He could have easily gotten a worthless COVID shot and played in Australia. Nobody would have been safer if he had gotten that COVID shot. He's under zero risk now, and he can spread it just as easily if he gets the COVID shots, maybe more easily than he can now. And so this argument, there's no justification whatsoever to keep Novak Djokovic out of America. He could go down to our southern border and he could cross illegally into this country, and they don't test at all for COVID there. So what I think is significant here, and you'll hardly hear it talked about or written about or see it discussed anywhere in the world of sports outside of OutKick, which is why our audience is continuing to skyrocket. Going to have an all-time record for readership at OutKick in August, which follows the all-time record for readership in July. And it's going to only skyrocket as we go into September and October and November. And the overall amount of people consuming our content continues to grow because we're talking about things that the vast majority of Americans agree with. And that is Novak Djokovic should be able to play in the U.S. Open. This is not remotely controversial. There is zero health justification for keeping him out. And the same sports media who are always beating the drum, praising athletes for standing on principle or sharing political beliefs, are mostly silent over Djokovic. Think about all the Colin Kaepernick stands out there. Kaepernick got rewarded. He made more money not playing football than he ever would have playing football. Djokovic is actually costing himself a chance to be the greatest tennis player in the history of tennis to stand on the principle that the COVID shot doesn't make sense. He could go get a COVID shot. It wouldn't make him safer, might make him a little bit sicker, wouldn't make any of us safer, but it's a relatively inconsequential act. He's just willing to stand on the principle that the mandates are wrong. God bless him. More power to him. But I want you all to notice that virtually no one in the sports media, other than your boy and other than people at OutKick, are actually even willing to point any of this out or, frankly, even cover it at all.